So Ghost Ship Games just put up a quote-unquote April Fool's Day video on their channel that I think wasn't actually meant to be an April Fool's Day video. I think it was a video that was meant to also give us a little bit more information in regards to Rogue Core that they just sort of masqueraded as an April Fool's Day video. So let's take a look at it.
Introducing the new line of Reclaimer Tech wrist-mounted utility devices, brought to you by the DRG R&D Laboratory.
Essentially, they put this video up that is supposed to be a parody or a sort of spoof, if you will, on those old school, like early 1990s, early 2000s, like infomercial type things. If anybody's lived in the US or maybe anywhere in the UK, I'm not quite sure if they do that. But basically, if you watched any form of mainstream TV channels really early in the morning, you would probably see stuff like this where they would be advertising things like home appliances or fancy stuff that you can use, or you know, these kind of just funny things that typically mainly only older people would use. And they basically made a parody of stuff like this, talking about the different gauntlets and equipment that we have in Rogue Core. And I think with this particular video, we actually got a lot more information in regards to how some of the different class abilities are going to work when Rogue Core does come out.
Order now, and not only do you get your very own wrist-mounted utility device, but we'll throw in a display mount pedestal, hand sculpted in Hoxus marble.
They obviously start off by talking about how revolutionary these special things that they're offering are, and then they go into a little bit more details of each individual one, basically talking about how each of the class's abilities are going to work. The first one that they talk about is the Stonewall gauntlet, which I believe is going to be the ability for the Guardian class, which is one that we haven't really seen a whole lot of yet, which is very interesting. And basically the way that they describe it is it actually has two parts, which is surprising. Essentially, you have the ability to put up this big barrier, this force field around you, which can keep enemies away from you, but you also have the ability to quickly send out this sort of force push, which can knock enemies away, and I'm assuming deal damage, which is very interesting. And that kind of gives us a lot more of an incentive as to what the Guardian class is actually going to do. Basically, it seems that the Guardian class is going to have a two-part system. It's going to be able to keep enemies at bay as well as keep yourself and your allies much more well protected. I'm not quite sure if each of those abilities is going to have its own individual cooldown, or if it's going to be shared, or how much you can augment that. But the fact that we now actually have a understanding as to how the Guardian is going to work, at least in terms of how their ability is going to work, we can now start to really think about how that class is going to play out in combination with the rest of them. It definitely feels like the Guardian is going to be the sort of bulwark, the sort of tank, the defensive-based class that is going to try to keep everybody alive, similar to how the Gunner is in DRG normally, because they have the energy shield. They're very good at reviving people. They're very good at getting people up, and they are just very good at entrenching the team in defensive locations. So the Guardian is definitely going to play a similar role, albeit it's probably going to go a lot deeper into the actual defensive aspects of it.
The new Stonewall Repulsor Gauntlet. This portable force field generator
push back anyone crowding your personal spoon.
And for more emphatic crowd management, it can also generate an energy barrier that keeps any nosy neighbor at bay. But that's not all. It's also capable of directed energy attacks in case you really need to get your point across.
And then the next one they told us about is the Special Purpose Operations Tactical Tranquilizing Enfeebling Repeater, or the Spotter. So this is basically going to be the ability that we have for the Spotter classes, what I can only assume. In my initial ideas of what I thought the classes were going to be in Rogue Core, I assumed that the Spotter was going to essentially just be a information gathering class and have the ability to scan enemies, the ability to tag them, the ability to make it so that way everybody knows where they are. But it seems that they're going in a bit of a different direction when it comes to the Spotter. Essentially, what this thing is going to allow you to do is to hit enemies with different types of darts that could inflict any kind of enfeebling or detrimental effects to them. I'm not sure if that is implying it's slowing or like poisoning, or it might also be marking. They might be able to give them some sort of tracer-like move, and you might be able to still figure out where they are that way. But it seems that the Spotter's ability is going to focus more on enfeebling and debilitating the enemies, kind of similar to how I thought the Gorgon was going to handle. It seems that that is more of a Spotter-specific thing instead of the Gorgon, at least as the way that I can understand how they're showing this. They didn't show a whole lot of it. Basically, they just showed him popping a couple of balloons with the Spotter. And they didn't necessarily say what type of darts they were. I'm assuming they're still going to be able to do damage, but it seems that the main focus is you are going to be putting some sort of detrimental effect on them.
The Special Purpose Operations Tactical Tranquilizing and Enfeebling Repeater, or Spotter for short, is a rapid-fire pneumatically operated burst-fire dart 38 caliber ballistic syringes containing weakening and disorienting chemical agents. They will be left in a state of confusion, so you can hit him with even stronger attack.
Don't just look for the easy targets. Make your own.
Then the next one they showed us was the Buzzard, which is spelled very interestingly, and this is the one that we saw with the Falconeer, which they showed off when they did their initial Rogue Core reveal. And this one, we kind of already seen how it works. It flies around the enemy, it debilitates them, it shocks them, it distracts them, all that good stuff. So this one we kind of already saw. We more or less know how it's going to function. It's just a case of we get to see it a little bit more in action. We get to see a little bit better close-up of it, better modeling of it. The model on all of these looks phenomenal, by the way. They look really, really good. And it again sort of reinforces that the Falconeer is going to play this kind of general disruption / utility role where the bird is going to be able to do a bunch of different things. They obviously didn't showcase all the things that they could do in this little over 2-minute trailer, but I imagine the Falcon is going to have a lot of other things that it can do. I imagine it can do various things to enemies. I imagine you're going to be able to maybe gather minerals with it. It's possible, but I definitely am very excited to try that one out myself. And it'll be interesting to see how you can also upgrade it to where you can potentially have certain things that the bird could be able to do. Potentially it might be able to like breathe fire or something. I'm not 100% certain. We just kind of have to wait to see what happens.
The Buzzard drone is a semi-autonomous offensive disruption drone. An armored shell launch platform, this defensive weapon can be deployed with a flick of the wrist, and it comes with easily rechargeable internal batteries. Bring some shock and awe into the fight. Did somebody say tased and confused?
And then the last one they showed us was the big one that everybody's waiting to see, the Slicer's ability, which is referred to as the Supernova Blade Gauntlet, which looks phenomenal. It looks even better than when I saw it in the actual Rogue Core reveal. And it's essentially the same thing that we saw before. You do this big slicing move and it just does a lot of damage. It's a melee combat lover dream come true. It is just going to be a lot of fun to be able to melee combat with this. And we didn't really see a whole lot of new stuff in regards to that. And it is just so beautiful to be able to have something that can just slice through things like that. Again, they didn't really go into too much detail in regards to how you're going to be able to change it. Obviously, it was just a very brief sort of teaser / April Fool's Day video. But again, I imagine we're going to be able to customize the Blade Gauntlet in a way to where we might be able to increase the damage or maybe even change the style of attack that we do. I feel like that'd be kind of interesting. So it'll be really nice to see how they implement that.
Introducing the Supernova Wrist-Mounted Energy Sword. Refined Exponite crystals are superheated and magnetically suspended in a razor-sharp energy field with the ultimate fighting technology. You don't have to settle for mastering the blade. You can become the blade.
And then that means we didn't see anything in regards to the Gorgon, which is very interesting. They really are playing the Gorgon close to the chest, which I'm very interested to see how the Gorgon is actually executed, because again, I really don't know how it's going to function. In fact, how the spotter seems to be functioning now is how I expected the Gorgon to function, where it's going to be debilitating enemies, enfeebling them, slowing them down, giving them all kinds of stuff that are going to be making them less effective. But that seems to, at least on the surface, be what the spotter is doing. So I'm very interested to see how the Gorgon is going to play out. Again, we just kind of have to wait and see how Rogue Core is going to shape up, what they're going to announce, how they're going to say that the classes are going to function. But at least with this particular like joke April Fool's Day video they gave us a lot more information in regards to how the classes are going to function, at least with their abilities, albeit a little bit indirectly and with not a whole lot of actual gameplay. Obviously, this is all just like pre-generated, pre-animated type stuff, so it's kind of stuff we have to sort of take with a grain of salt, but I do still think we have a much better idea as to how the classes are going to function in Rogue Core when they do come out. But in any event, I just wanted to do a quick reaction to that particular trailer because I saw that in the morning and I'm like, oh, there's an April Fool's Day video. Of course they're going to do something. And then once you look at it, you think, wow, they actually did reveal some stuff that I was not expecting. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think. What about these looks the best to you? Which class are you most looking forward to playing? Again, I'm still probably going to stick with the Falconeer. It just looks incredibly cool. And let me know in the comments what you guys think the Gorgon class is going to have. Do you think it's going to have some sort of like slowing or freezing type ability? Let me know down below. And as always, I hope you found this video informative and entertaining. If you did, please be sure to let me know by hitting that like button and consider subscribing today, as it really helps me out a lot. Rocket Stone Miners, I will see you in the next video.